Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin for the win, and we're back for another edition of Diablo 3. Today on the channel, we are going to be taking a look at the Ina set for the Monk class. So, this is the Ina's Mantra set to be exact. This is the two-piece bonus, says increase the passive effect of your Mystic ally and base passive effect of your mantra by 100%. Four-piece, gain the base effect of all four mantras at all times, and the six-piece bonus basically increases the amount of damage that Mystic allies do for the amount of Mystic allies that you have. Helping out this set, we are going to be using the Lirevir's Soliloquy. We are also going to be using the Shenlong's Fist set because this is a Spirit Generator set. We're going to be using Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, Convention of Elements for the Ring. On our shoulders, we are going to be having the Binders of the Lesser God, and we are going to be using, for all intents and purposes, most of the full pieces of the Ina set. We are going to be using for our passive abilities Beacon of Yar, Harmony, Seize the Initiative, and Near-Death Experience. For the Kanai's Cube, the Fist of Arzian Tuzak for Exploding Palm, the Crudus Boots, which is very important because the more Mystic allies that we have, the more damage we can do. Ring of Royal Grandeur. We are going to be using, for the skills, Way of the 100 Fists for the primary. For our focus skill, we are going to be using, obviously, Mystic Ally, Water Ally. We are going to be using, for the mantra, we are going to have Mantra of Salvation, Divine Protection, but obviously we get all the mantras for that. Dashing Strike, Blinding Speed will be for our technique. And for our focus, we're also going to be using Cyclone Strike. And for another technique, we are also going to be using Exploding Palm. We don't have to use Exploding Palm too much until we get high in the Greater Rifts. This is a armor that is better at actually doing group play. So, keep that in mind, group play. It's really good for. Solo play, it doesn't do as well. The reason being is a lot of the stuff, like your mantras, usually you get the benefit, or the benefit comes usually to your allies, not so much you. You do get a ability from the mantras, but this is one of those armors that is a great armor if you are playing in a group. To use solo play, it's going to start dropping off around Greater Rift 70. We're going to do a Greater Rift, I believe we're going to do 55, 60, 65, and 70 to be able to show you how this works. So, when you get to the entrance, your Mystic allies are automatically with you. They are going to mimic your moves. So, what you're going to really be doing is running around, punching things, and your Mystic allies are going to be imitating you and punching things. So, the good thing about the Mystic allies is sometimes they will walk ahead and will just punch things on their own and take out enemies. So, on low Greater Rifts, these guys work really, really good for solo play because, as you're going to see here, they kind of run up to things and punch things, and based on the way Shenlong's Fist work, you're going to be incurring a lot of damage with them and be able to take out things fast. When you see a lot of enemies on the screen, that's when you actually want to use the ability of your Mystic allies, the Mystic ally skill, to basically be doing the wave move, which will take out a lot of enemies near you. It doesn't do a lot of damage per se, but it's good at like crowd control. Another thing that we're going to be doing constantly is casting Cyclone Strikes. The reason is Cyclone Strike allows us to pull enemies towards us, and it increases the amount of defense that we have, which is very important for a set where we're going to be doing most of our attacking via up close and personal. Now, if you're looking for something that is quicker, faster, and is going to take you high up in the leaderboard, I would recommend using the Patterns of Justice set. For the Monk, that's a Tempest Rush build. And if you don't like the Patterns of Justice set, you can also use the Sunwuku set, which is known as mostly as a Tempest Rush build using Captain Crimson to help increase the amount of damage. Both of those armors have been featured on the channel before for Season 22 of Diablo. You can find both of those available on our playlist, so definitely check those out. Really, this is a very basic armor to use because since Mystic allies are going to be doing most of the damage, really what you're going to want to do is every once in a while when you see a high area of mobs, cast your Cyclone Strike so you can pull them in, get your defense buff, which is going to be very important. Let your Mystic allies pretty much do the work for you. They're going to go to town on any enemies that they really see. You're going to be constantly using your Way of the 100 Fists to do damage. When you see large areas of mobs, that's when I would recommend activating your Mystic ally to be able to just do crowd control and to do a little bit of extra amount of damage. Every so often, definitely cast your mantra. That way, you'll be able to heal a little bit and take a bit more damage. And that's pretty much how this armor works for all intents and purposes. Mystic allies, I think you could really think of them pretty much like a pet build. Like, they do count as pets. So, in theory, if you wanted to use a Tasker and Theo, although I don't necessarily recommend it, you could, and it would do a little bit more. The reason why I'm using the boots, the Crudus boots, is because you get more Mystic allies. If you didn't use the Crudus boots, you'd have less Mystic allies. Less Mystic allies mean less amount of damage you'll be able to procure. Less amount of damage that you're able to procure means you're going to take a lot longer to clear from greater rifts. And keep in mind, this is not really a speed build. On low greater rifts, this will perform decently well for you. The higher you go up, the longer it's going to take significantly to be able to take things out. That's when Exploding Palm, which I haven't used as of yet, is going to become more prevalent, and you're going to have to use it a lot more to be able to implode things that are just taking way too long for your Mystic allies to take out naturally, and for your Way of the 100 Fist in conjunction with your Shenlong to be able to do. Now, for the legendary gems for this armor set, again, my recommendations, they're going to always sound kind of familiar, but those are usually the go-to gems. Bane of the Stricken, because obviously we're going to be punching things a lot of times. Bane of the Trap, because we get it, when we get it to level 25, it automatically will be able to cast Slow on it, and we'll be able to procure that way. And for the third gem, you can go with Goak of Swiftness, or you could go a Bane of the Powerful, or if you wanted to, you could use an Enforcer gem because Mystic allies do count as pets. Or you could go for something that like Estoic Altercation, which would give you a little bit more defense gem. If this one is not so bad. This one in particular is bad because I'm going to use this to augment. But the Estoic Altercation, I always butcher that name. That would probably be something good. Those things, those are gems. You can play around with the third gem a bit to pretty much is what your choice is. Okay, so that was a greater of 45. I'm going to do a greater of 55, 65, and then I'll do a 70. This is greater of 55. So you're going to see, it's going to take a little bit longer to clear things now, because as we go higher up, it's going to be thing. So Mystic Allies, you see here, I had to cast actually the Mystic Ally skill itself to be able to do a bit of crowd control, because it goes in all directions. So it's good for crowd control when you're getting kind of swarmed by a lot of mobs. Now, for optimization for this armor, in the helm, I would recommend crit hit ratio 6.0%. For your gloves, my recommendation is crit hit ratio 6.0%, crit hit damage 50%. I would also recommend on the gloves, I know this takes a while to get via RNG, but just keep at it and maybe you'll be able to get it. A attack speed, it is very important on this particular armor build. Attack speed 7.0 or 8.0. It really depends on whether you have an Ancient Legendary piece or not, because that's a better chance of getting the more optimized roll. So you definitely want to go that way. In terms of abilities that you would want to buff in armor, I would say you don't really need cooldown for the set, but because the Mystic Ally ability is pretty much like an AoE effect, I would probably go with Area of Effect, increased damage, or cooldown. You could also, if you wanted to, go resource cost reduction, because you will have less resources spent that way, because remember, this is a spirit generator build, but you will burn through spirit quite a bit if you're not punching through things consistently with your Shenlong Fist, so keep that in mind. One of the things you could also do is you could go for cooldown. It's not going to do too much for you. Buffing skills, obviously, wherever possible, you want to buff your Way of the 100 Fist. You want to buff your Mystic Ally as much as possible, so look for areas where you can buff that. 15% would be preferable in those slots. That's pretty much what you could go for optimization. As I said before, as you go higher up in the Greater Rifts, this is not a very great armor, in particular for solo play. So you are going to notice that it's taking you longer, which means if you want to keep on with this armor, you're going to have to spend a lot of time augmenting it with legendary gems. Now, my personal opinion, there's better armors that you can, invest those legendary gems on. Again, Patterns of Justice will do you extremely well and will get you very high leaderboard placement in Season 22 of Diablo. Tempest Rush with Sun Wuku will do very, very good for you on leaderboard placement if you're going for the Mutt route. Keep in mind, Pairs of Justice is your Season 22 starter build, so that's something that you can easily acquire as opposed to the Ina set. There is a staff for Ina. It is not recommended to use it because Shenlong's Fist pretty much is the way to go with this build. For these particular enemies, you want to be casting Exploding Palm when possible. If there's a lot of enemies on screen, that's going to be a bit more difficult. And since we're still on a lower Greater Rift, I don't really need to use Exploding Palm because it's not going to really be able to take out a lot of enemies fast. Most of these Mystic Allies are going to be able to take out targets. But if you do run into an elite pack that's giving you a hard time to take down, cast the Exploding Palm and then just go to town with your Way of the 100 Fists and it'll automatically explode. And if there's a lot of enemies coming towards you, keep in mind, I've mentioned this many times on the channel before, Diablo III enemies are programmed to come towards you and to follow you. So you can use that to your advantage to put them into a trap. So you want to always look for things. Now, when it comes to dodging, this is where Dashing Strike is kind of important. Dashing Strike is basically used on this set to be able to dance around things. So, like, if you see that you're in a situation where a mob is going to explode or you're having a hard time, you use Dashing Strike as you're evading there. Now, keep in mind, for that Rift Guardian, we were able to pretty much implode it very fast with Way of the 100 Fists, and I did cast a Mystic Ally. So we were able to pretty much one-shot it thanks to Bane of the Stricken. Bane of the Stricken gives you a cumulative damage. So the more times you hit something, the more damage you're doing every time you hit it, which is why you want that, in particular for the Ina set. So I'm just leveling up a random gem here. In your Kanai's Cube, if you wanted to, you could run Unity over Ring of Royal Grandeur. Obviously, I chose Ring of Royal Grandeur, so I would be able to get a bit more flexibility out of the things that I could use on my armor set here. So, okay, that was a 3-minute clear time on Greater Rift 55. As you can see the trend here, this is going to be Greater Rift 65. This is going to take significantly longer because enemies are going to do a lot more damage now. Since enemies are going to do a lot more damage, I'm going to use Cyclone Strike a lot more frequently to be able to get defensive buffs. And another thing that you're going to start seeing me do a lot more is casting Exploding Palms, because I need the Exploding Palms now to take out mobs around me, because since enemies are doing a lot more damage now and have a lot more HP, Exploding Palm is going to be something very important. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to cast Exploding Palms on elite packs, and then you're going to use your Way of the 100 Fists in conjunction with the Mystic Allies to basically use that as your detonator so that Exploding Palms go off. Exploding Palms are AoE effect. In theory, if you wanted to in optimization of the armor, you could increase the amount of damage of Exploding Fists. I don't recommend it. I recommend Mystic Ally, because Mystic Ally is where our main source of damage is coming from. Exploding Palm is just there to help us get to things a little bit better. Cyclone Strike, as you see, will also help significantly, because every time we cast a Cyclone Strike, we get defensive buff for a while, which is very, very important as we go higher up in these greater rifts. So same strategy as before. Cyclone Strike. I got a Dashing Strike out of here because, as you saw there, if I don't use Dashing Strike as my dodge, I would have taken an unnecessary death. So that's what Dashing Strike is used for in this particular build. Again, we're going to go Way of the 100 Fist. If something feels a little too bulky, I will cast the Exploding Palm and then use my Way of the 100 Fist in conjunction with Mystic Ally to be a detonator to explode. See, there's Exploding Palm. There, I casted it. It blew up everything in the area, AoE effect. It's very important that you start using, as you get higher up in the Greater Rifts, these type of cycles to be able to maximize the amount of damage that you're able to do towards enemies. When there's a lot of enemies on screen and you're seeing that you're having a problem mitigating between Exploding Palm and Way of the 100 Fist, and they're coming too fast, that's when you want to cast a Mystic Ally, because it'll go in all directions. You get the waves, you get the rocks, you get everything, and then you'll be able to do a lot of damage that way. Dashing Strike whenever possible that you see that you're going to take maybe an unnecessary death. And then also, keep in mind that you're going to have to constantly cast as well Cyclone Strike. So, one of the reasons why this armor is kind of not really good, outside of the fact that it doesn't clear through Greater Rifts at very high speeds, though it does push generally well up until about Greater Rift 70. Then further higher up, it takes a lot longer to be able to push through things, is the fact that it takes a lot of things in conjunction with each other to make this armor work effectively. You have to time the Exploding Palms. You have to time the Cyclone Strikes. You have to time the way of the 100 Fists. You have to remember to dodge with Dashing Strike when things get bad. There's a lot of things going on with this armor, which makes it, for the general player base and for maybe even some of the veteran player base, a bit unfavorable to use this armor because it's complicated situations and you have to time windows. And if you miss a window and you don't time it properly, or you mess up, or something's on cooldown and you need it to be able to progress further, it puts you at a disadvantage, which is why people prefer to go to the easier options for the monk. Now, if you're interested in, let's say, an Exploding Palm build, you could take a look at the Uliana set, which I have covered. That's available on the playoffs, along with the Tempest Rush variations, which is Parents of Justice, as well as the Sunwuku. Nerfing that you will be covered on the monk is the not the Shenlong set, but it is called the 1,000 Waves of the Crashing Fist, if I remember correctly. That's a very, very weird armor. That is also Spirit Generator armor, which is actually a Dashing Strike build. I will be covering that in the not-too-distant future on the channel. It will probably be coming up next week. It's a not-so-similar build, but it works on the same principles as this particular armor build. So definitely make sure to take a look at that one. As I also mentioned on the channel, Diablo II Resurrected was recently announced at BlizzCon. The plan on the channel is I will definitely be playing Diablo II Resurrected. I know there's a very divisive fan base in regards to that. Some people are fearing for the game because of what happened with Warcraft 3 Reforged, like I said on Monday's video. When it comes to Diablo and Warcraft, although they're owned by the same company, they have very different development teams. The people who are developing Diablo 2 are people who have worked on Diablo primarily, not Warcraft. So, in theory, this is pretty much just going to be a remastered port with optimized HD graphics of Diablo 2. None of the game mechanics seem to be changed as of yet. They've shown a lot of gameplay footage so far from BlizzCon for Diablo 2. It looks like the good old-fashioned Diablo 2 that everybody loves and holds to a very high regard and high standard. So, I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to be great. It looks like it's going to play great. I say don't go into it pessimistic like a lot of people are. There's a lot of content creators on YouTube and Twitch and everything that are hating based on the Warcraft 3 incident. Now, yeah, what happened with Warcraft 3 was pretty bad for Blizzard players, but we can't use that always as the example for every other game that's released. Obviously, people are still pretty burned over Diablo Immortal. Diablo 4 looks to correct some of that. I will not be playing Diablo Immortal on the channel. As I mentioned before, I don't have a mobile device, first of all, that would be able to run it properly. And second of all, as you can see, all my content creation pretty much is featured on console-based systems. I don't have really the means to stream the content from the phone onto my computer to make the videos that I do on YouTube. On top of that, Diablo Immortal is a free-to-play game that has free-to-play mechanics, and I don't mind free-to-play mechanics primarily because I do play other games like Fortnite, and I have also played Paladins, and yeah, those things have microtransactions. Not so many microtransactions, particularly for Paladins, but obviously for Fortnite. So, I'm not going to hate on microtransactions necessarily because it's just part of what gaming has become and evolved into. But microtransactions in my Diablo that's not DLC is something that I particularly don't like to do. On top of that, Diablo, playing it on a tablet or a phone is not my type of thing. Just like when PC players, when Diablo Immortal was announced at the BlizzCon, the last one that people were actually able to attend, is this a joke? It's just, if you're playing Diablo, you're either playing on PC or you're playing on console. Diablo 2 is going to be on PC. It's going to be on console. When it comes out, I will be playing it on the channel, as I mentioned before. I'm not sure how we're going to do the content. I don't know if I'm going to do more Diablo 2 content than I'm going to be doing Diablo 3 content. It really depends on what happens with whatever season of Diablo 3 is going on. If even Blizzard does continue to do Diablo 3 seasons, we don't know if maybe Blizzard will now kind of move away from Diablo 3 and will then start focusing on Diablo 2. Maybe we'll get seasons in Diablo 2 Resurrected Maybe this is how they will wean people off of Diablo 3 and transition them into Diablo 2. And then when everybody's pretty much starting to get tired of Diablo 2 Resurrected, which it might be hard because Diablo 2 is one of those games that people love and hold in such high regard because it's the game that pretty much shaped this genre. What will probably end up happening is Diablo 4 will come out, and then they'll put people on Diablo 4 on PC. Obviously, Diablo 4 will come to consoles. I doubt it will be on a Nintendo Switch release. It's probably going to be on next-gen systems. As I mentioned on the channel, I am looking to get a next-gen console, but as many of you probably are also facing the same problem, PS5s and Xbox Series X consoles are still hard to come by, and I am not willing to pay double dollar or scalper prices or pay a scalper for one of those systems. That's just something I'm not going to do. I can wait. A lot of people can wait. As you can see here, this is a Greater of 70, and this is where the Ina set really falls out of grace. You're going to have to cast a lot of Exploding Palms to be able to detonate things, and you want to cast Exploding Palms when you're in a large area of concentration. Also cast Cyclones, and then use your Mystic Ally ability very conservatively. The problem, though, is as with all Greater Rifts, as you go higher up in the Greater Rifts, you get pretty much more enemies that have a lot more HP and can do a lot more damage, and Ina is not a very tanky set despite the fact that we have Cyclone. When you get to Greater of 70, if you wanted to continue using this armor effectively, and as I mentioned before, there are so many better options available to you, what you would have to do is go back and invest in ancient legendary gem augmentation on your armor. My personal opinion, I would say it's kind of wasting your ancient legendary gems on an armor that's not that great. This is one of those armors that's not going to do very well in solo play when you get to higher Greater Rifts. Greater Rift 70 is already tournament 15 to 16 difficulty. So, and unless you're going to be playing this armor with a group, you're really not going to be doing yourself too many favors. As you see, I'm taking a lot of deaths. So many deaths where I'm probably going to even have to back out of this Greater Rift at some point, despite the fact that we're still in the positive rate for being able to clear this on time. I think we're probably going to be able to clear this within 12 minutes, which is something you don't really want to see in clear rates of your armors on Diablo, unless you are playing in higher Greater Rifts that are 100 Greater Rift difficulty or higher. So that's one thing. For people who have been watching the video, definitely let me know what you feel is going to happen with Diablo 2. Would you prefer that I start when Diablo 2 is officially released, focusing strictly on Diablo 2 content? Or would you like to see me doing a mix of Diablo 2 content and Diablo 3 content? Right now, I'm leaning personally towards doing a mix of the two, but it's really based on what happens with Blizzard. Will Blizzard continue to support Diablo 3 with Seasons? Will Blizzard just go straight into Diablo 2 Resurrected is the game we're going to be supporting now? And Diablo 3 is finally going to go into retirement after 11 years of being out on PC and X amount of years of being available on console. I think we're going on... This should be the third year that it is available on the Nintendo Switch platform, which is I'm playing on. As I mentioned before, there is no difference in regards to the information that I provide in these videos from PC to console. All the information that is applied on this video I'm playing on the Nintendo Switch platform can be applied in full and perfectly replicated on the PC. The only difference between PC Diablo and console Diablo is the fact that on PC you're using mouse and keyboard, which would allow you to do more precision in terms of your movements and your pointing and clicking, as opposed to on console. Obviously, you're using buttons and we're using control sticks, and control sticks have a limited amount of movement and freedom compared to a mouse. So keep that in mind. But all the information that's available is the same. Whether you're playing on PC or console, it will work exactly the same for you. So that is why this may look different. Now, to address another thing that was listed in the comments, because I do get back to everybody in the comment section and reply back. I read them all. I take my time to go through them. If I don't get back to people really fast, I try to get back to them within a day to 2 days of seeing the comments. So keep in mind, sometimes it may take me a while because I do more content on the channel than just Diablo. I do Diablo free content. I do Wrestling Empire content. I mix it up with a wide variety of other things. Sometimes I'll play Pokemon. Sometimes I play Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes I play Uno. Sometimes I'll play Mario games. I am looking this week to add Minecraft Dungeons because that's another very good dungeon crawler that is looking to get better because they're having a new update that comes out. Actually, as of this recording, it should be officially released and dropped, which is going to kind of bridge the gap of Minecraft Dungeons and Diablo 3. So Minecraft Dungeons is looking to have better endgame that's going to be nearly on par to endgame content for Diablo 3. Obviously, that's something I need to experiment with and go deep diving into in great context, but that's something I'm looking to add to the channel because I do enjoy Minecraft Dungeons. It is a decent dungeon crawler that with each update has started to get a bit better, and it looks like the Flames of the Nether update is going to bridge the gap and make it feel more enjoyable like a Diablo 3 or a Diablo 2. So if you're a fan of dungeon crawlers, that is something I'm planning to bring more content to on the channel within this week, and starting next week is Minecraft Dungeons. So definitely make sure to check that out. Maybe it'll even swing you on actually picking up Minecraft Dungeons, or maybe after experimenting with the new update, I'll be able to tell you, save your money. It's really not getting better, and that Diablo 3 and 2 is still pretty much your go-to dungeon crawlers. So that's definitely something I'm looking into. But keep in mind, I do our content. But to address something that was mentioned in the comment section, because I got a little off topic there, people have been asking if I'm going to be doing higher Greater Rifts. Usually I cap these instructional videos off at Greater Rift 70 and 75. Why? Because it takes, first of all, a long time for me to fully optimize these armors to be able to just show off these guides. And then to take it even further, I'd have to spend a lot more Ancient Legendary Gems. And as I just mentioned now, I play a lot of games on the channel, so I'm not playing Diablo 3, despite what it looks like on this channel, 24/7, 7 days a week. I do play other games. So yes, I will be doing higher Greater Rift content in the future. My goal on the channel in the beginning was to cover every armor available in the game for Diablo 3 for Season 22. And if there was time left over before we got to Season 23, then I would go back and do fun videos of me trying to clear higher Greater Rifts. So that's something that I'm playing in the future. All right, so that was a 12-minute clear time. I don't recommend this armor, guys. This is really for funsies. And if you're doing group play, use Patterns of Justice or Sumonku Monk. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like and subscribe. I'll see you on Monday for the next Diablo 3 video.